Yo, it's your boy Xmanny87, and I'm pretty much going to give you my first movie review, I guess. And not so much a review, but like my thoughts on the Captain Marvel movie. And I feel that, first off, I want to say that I liked the movie, uh, but I didn't love it either. So I think if you're going into this movie with a negative mindset, you're not gonna end up liking it. So I would suggest just go in with an open mind. Um, there's a lot I want to cover, but I don't think I'll have the time for that. So I am going to try to give you guys a spoiler-free review and then go into spoilers because it's kind of hard to talk about a movie without spoilers, or at least for me, because again, I'm not a movie reviewer. I'll see how this goes. If you guys like it, cool, I'll do more reviews. If not, hey, that's fine. Just testing the waters here. So one thing I will say, the way the movie started off is with like a Stan Lee tribute when it comes to that Marvel Studios iconic logo, and it shows like all his cameo appearances. I thought that was nice, and it hit a spot here that was beautiful to see. I do want to talk about, obviously, Captain Marvel, since she is the lead in this movie. And it is the first MCU female lead movie. So we're a part of history, guys. That is awesome. That is great. I will say that Brie Larson was she really had personality, man. The trailers didn't do justice. The trailers didn't show that. They didn't show like enough of her personality. And here in this movie, I felt like hey, she was pretty she was pretty good, man. She was like a delight sometimes. And the thing is with that, gotta remember that trailers are just like they're edited by like third party companies, man. So it's you can't really go off that. So I'm happy that she showed some personality there. The movie. I've seen some movie reviewers say that the movie starts off really slow and then it picks up. I disagree. I thought the movie started at a really good pace, Like a lot was going on, some good action scenes. So I was already like hooked like that, and I'm a huge fan of the cosmic universe, so freaking loved it, seeing everything like Cosmos. In the beginning, it was really cool. So that first act was really good, and then it goes to the middle of the movie, which that's where it kind of slows down. But in a good way, because in that middle of the movie, you're trying to, that's like the info gathering, trying to get everything, solved to bridge into the third act, which actually the third act, picked up pretty good. It kept going up. So there are some liberties that they took with certain characters, with origins and things like that. And my thing is, I understand like not everything from the comics is gonna translate well cinematically. They just grab like sources from here and there and kind of like just mesh them all together. So yeah, things like with the scrolls and the Kree, which I'll get into more in my spoiler section. Um, it was it was an unexpected twist. Anyway, again, not gonna spoil it. I would say for this movie, if I were to rate it, I'd give it a good 3.5, 3.75 out of 5 stars. It wasn't the greatest Marvel movie. And it's definitely not the worst. I mean, way better than Iron Man 3 and Thor the Dark World. I hated those movies. But you gotta remember that Brie Larson is getting adjusted to her character, right? Just like when Chris Evans started as Captain America in the first film, Thor, when he started in his first film, they that's their launch, right? So they have to pretty much find their own identity throughout these movies, and I feel like we'll get that with Brie Larson. If you didn't, like her too much in this role, when Endgame comes out, I feel like we're really gonna get a great Captain Marvel, because it's something about the Russos that they just know how to make the characters badass in the Avengers movie or whatever Civil War than in their own movies. So anyway, going into spoilers, we have I do want to go over the Star Force. They were freaking cool. Like, it's funny because they're like the Galaxy Police. And it's just funny how they were black and green, right? Like the Green Lanterns, since they're like space cops too. So Yon-Rogg was awesome. Jude Law as Yon-Rogg was really, really cool. I liked him a lot. You had Minerva. Minerva, man, I really wanted more Minerva. She looked really cool. I felt like she got Captain Phasma, man. Like, I really wanted to see more of her. And you had Korath there, you had the other blue dude. There was like two other blue dudes I don't remember, but all in all, I like the Star Force guys. They were really cool. And you get to see the Kree soldiers. The Kree soldiers were so cool. They had that Spartan-like helmet. That was really, really cool. Nick Fury and Agent Coulson, that was cool because Nick Fury, that aging technology that they use, man, he looked really cool. Coulson did too, but I felt like they did a better job on Nick Fury. Sometimes Coulson, excuse me, you kind of saw where, it was kind of CGI'd a little, I want to say, but I mean, not that bad. I got my notes here. The Skrulls. Man. Alright, so going back to where I said they take liberties from, on the comic characters, they really did that with the Skrulls here. Now, they are, at first they come out as they can't be trusted and things like that. They're gonna impersonate you, they'll access your recent memories and things like that. So that stuff was cool. Talos was cool. I thought it was Talos. We were all saying Talos, and it's freaking Talos. Talos. No, Talos. Ben Mendelsohn or Mendelsohn, however you pronounce his name. Man, he was so good. He was so freaking good. And when I saw him as Director Krennic in Star Wars, I just loved the way he portrayed that character. Such good gravitas and oh man, I really was hoping that, he would be like the Magneto, the new Magneto of the MCU, because, oh man, I think he would have been terrific. He would have been spectacular in that role. I wanted him to have more of an A-list role. But yeah, the Skrulls here, they messed it up. I mean, they were, so I would have to cover Mar-Vell, which was played by Annette Bening. That is her character. She plays the original, Captain Marvel, Mar-Vell. So she was on this mission where she is basically, trying to find a home for the Skrulls. Going into building a new technology, with the energy core, which is a Tesseract. By the way, this is cool. I'll touch on that. But so the Skrulls ended up being the good guys, point blank in this movie, and the Kree ended up being the bad guys. I don't know how I feel about that, just because, the Skrulls are never to be trusted. I still can't trust them, but how are they going to fix it later, Because now I'm thinking, like, if they ever do a secret invasion, that's going to confuse the general audience, right? Won't probably confuse us comic book fans, because we know, but the Skrulls, all I can think of, and, I'm pretty tired, is that group of Skrulls that she saved are probably maybe refugees, from their own home world, and maybe they're gonna introduce the Scroll Queen later on, and she's probably gonna want to hunt those refugees down if she knows they're alive, something like that. I don't know. There's so much going on in my head, but they can always fix that later. So I do have some gripes with taking some of the liberties on that. And going into Mar-Vell, which Annette Bening played. She was also the Kree Supreme Intelligence, so they kind of took two characters and made it into one when Carol Danvers is trying to find, things about her past and things like that. But I felt that, I don't know, I wanted the Kree Supreme Intelligence to be its own thing, because in the comics it looks all like, Sharma said it best, like Jabba the Hutt type of thing. It looks like the big ugly head. But I would have loved to seen that, and I'm a huge fan of the cosmic universe, so anything cosmic, I like to see different things, different species. So I think I would have loved to seen that as the Supreme Intelligence. Now being Mar-Vell, I mean, pretty much in the comics, Trade was a traitor. The Kree, wanted the original Captain Marvel for pretty much protecting humanity. So definitely, they wanted to get that Captain Marvel for treason, and I just feel like, man, I think the Mar-Vell thing was the dumbest. They ruined a great hero with one of the most heroic and tragic deaths. It was really iconic. Like, it's rated as one of the best deaths in comic book history. Really shows how a hero sacrifices himself and makes himself more human and relatable. Well, it's a she now that so there was a gender change there. The Mar-Vell was, a girl, and I think they could have, I don't know, made it a little more heroic. I didn't feel that. So it was yeah. I mean, look, again, I know, and as I said before, not everything's gonna translate well from comics to a cinematic point. But yeah, that was one thing that kind of bothered me. But anywho, what are we gonna do? We don't write the movies, but hey, we're all ready for Endgame. I wanted to say that Photon and Spectrum, right? Maria Rambeau and her daughter Monica Rambeau, they were a delight. Every time they were on screen, they were a delight. And Ronan the Accuser, man, so again, I'm a big fan of the Cosmic Universe. Ronan the Accuser is one of my all-time favorite Marvel villains, and he did absolutely nothing in the movie. Nothing. The shot that you see in the trailer with him just standing there, that's pretty much it. And then you see like another like hologram scene. I wanted more Ronan, because being killed in a dance-off in the Guardians film, that left a bad taste in my mouth. So the score, I want to say, was really good. So I grew up in the 90s, like the 90s, I like the 90s soundtrack in there. That was really cool in some spots in the 90s. Like, oh man, Blockbuster Video, man, I remember that. So that was a really cool nod. And the soundtrack being in the 90s was pretty cool. I mean, I had no complaints. Some people had some complaints. The Guardians of the Galaxy had their 70s, 80s track, which I freaking jammed to. That was awesome. So why not for this film? Being the 90s, there was a scene where she is. It was one song. There was a No Doubt song that said, I'm just a girl, and dude, she's just blasting these girls all the, like, excuse me, guys. She's just blasting him off, and I'm just like, I don't know. The song just like, you're not just a girl, but like blasting all these guys off. Like, I don't know. I didn't feel well. I am not a fan of soundtracks in movies. I love traditional, like, original scores made. because that, the score is important. It enhances the emotions, of the scene they're trying to capture, and in that moment, that scene, I was like, oh, what? Like, I don't know, it didn't impact me as much. But I mean, like, Captain Marvel was, Brie Larson's Captain Marvel was really good. It was hard. I gotta give them props because this must have been so hard to do, to tell her origin story from, in space on Earth, then it goes back in space and then Earth. Space is like, it switches up. It's so much, of her backstory condensed into 2 hours. So it was gonna be a hard thing to pull off. But I give them props. But you know what? Look, and went to see this movie with my wife Justine last night, and the most important thing is that we're part of history and what this is gonna do for the little girls. Because look, I had my Batmans, right? Growing up, I had my Batman live action movies, my Spider-Man live action movies, X-Men, you name it. I saw my heroes get knocked down and get back up. Where my wife was telling me, like, she didn't have that at all. Like, when growing up, it was like, what, Sailor Moon, Carmen Sandiego, she said, or Powerpuff Girls, things like that. Nothing live action to really get that realism, that feel. So, Wonder Woman succeeded so well in that 2 years ago in that movie. So, if you're going into this also trying to compare it to Wonder Woman, just stop. Don't. Because that's not... It is two different characters. As well as, what's the point of this whole female movement, right? This whole women's movement, if we keep comparing them, and even in this case, comparing her to the other male superstar, star leads, if we don't celebrate their individuality, because there was this, this one, this little girl that was, watching the movie, and she was just like so happy, and I had to take a second and step back and say, yeah, man, this is what it's about, this is what it's all about. So, my niece can pretty much have a female, character to look up to. So this is, that was a cool thing. And also, the end credits, right? There's a mid-credit scene and an end credit scene. The mid-credit scene, oh my god! Pretty much starts off with, where Infinity War's post-credit scene where Nick Fury's paging Captain Marvel. So they have the device, and they, meaning Cap, Black Widow, Rhodey, in their base, and Rhodey tells him, hey man, that thing you told me to watch, it like stopped beeping or something like that. So they check, it's not like working. Captain America's just like, hey man, let's reboot it or something like that. And then, whoom, out of nowhere, like, Captain Marvel just shows up right in Black Widow's face. I forgot what she said, because I was like, I couldn't hear what she said, because I was just like, oh, that's all I needed. Like, just that type of hype, just seeing Captain Marvel with the other Avengers. I'm like, oh, yes, that's freaking awesome. So I like that a lot. Also, Goose. I forgot to cover about Goose. Goose was awesome. Goose was amazing. Man. So in the end, Goose pretty much, the end credit scene is Goose coughing up the Cosmic Cube, or the Tesseract, because they were trying to, hide it earlier. And that's when the Flurkin just comes out and just eats it all, because the Flurkins, they can consume planets and things like that and spit it out whenever they want. So that was pretty funny. In the comics, it's really named Chewie. I would have, because the cat reminds Captain Marvel of Chewie, I would have loved that, but I think they didn't want to do that just because Chewie was named after Chewbacca, and probably Disney doesn't want them, referenced in the same universe, which I don't get, because, like, I don't understand why they couldn't call it Chewie, because in Civil War, like, Spider-Man is saying, hey, you remember that, that old movie, Empire Strikes Back, or something like that? Like, they did reference Star Wars, so, I don't know. I guess they named it Goose for the the whole like Top Gun reference. The Top Gun Goose Maverick dynamic there. So I mean, Goose was it was cool. The one thing I didn't like though is that well, if you guessed that Nick Fury loses his eye to Goose, you guessed correctly. It kind of diminishes what Nick Fury said in Civil War, where he's like, I once trusted someone and I lost an eye. Yeah, Cat is not a someone. It's excuse me, it's a flirkin, it's a mother flirkin, but you just assume that he was talking about an actual person. But I guess it's now canon. It's now canon. Okay, but anyway, guys, Captain Marvel was a decent film. It's 3 out of 5. Again, I didn't hate it. I didn't love it. I liked it. I just expected a bigger scale, a bigger, galactic scale in terms of like the action sequences. It's really a bummer that like when you see in the trailers like when she's going like all binary pew pew woo, like that's all you get. Like that's literally what you get in the action scenes. There are some others where she's showing off some of her powers, but again, that's just me expecting a bigger galactic scale. I just think, in Avengers Endgame, we're really, really going to see, full force Captain Marvel go all out, so that's going to be exciting. I'm excited for Avengers Endgame. This is all I had to do for me. If you see my collection right behind me, yep, it's pretty much set. I just got to work on a collector review video for you guys, a collection review. But so far, let me know what you think, how you like the setup so far. So I'll be doing that. But anyway, guys, I mean, I'm not a professional movie reviewer. It's just basically sharing my thoughts on the characters and things like that. And also, oh yeah, Minerva, I wanted to say earlier, but I didn't talk about spoilers. Man, they killed her so quick, man. I was pissed. Oh, not quick, but I guess quick because she really didn't have enough screen time. I thought this was gonna set up the next Captain Marvel sequel, the next villain for the next Captain Marvel sequel. But who knows? Maybe she survived. It could, it could be something like that. She looked really cool. Also, another thing, the Easter eggs, like when Monica Rambeau, Spectrum was playing with her little whatever technological gauntlet that she had there to change the costume. Since the Kree was looking after her, she wanted a new look, and so she was going through these color schemes. And I love that there was a black, red, and gold type of color that was like a nod to her her old Warbird costume. I like that. That was pretty cool. As I see, as you guys can see right there, that was like my favorite Miss Marvel costume. Oh, she looks so sexy. Grew up in the '90s, man. The skimpy outfits were, they were the thing, but the females were still badass. They weren't, to me, I don't care about if they were over sexualized. I think they still kicked ass. I didn't even look at it, as like, just looking at booty and boobs. I've read a lot of characters at the stories, it's female characters where they're badass, man. They're awesome. So, yeah, Captain Marvel, definitely, if you're invested in the MCU, it's definitely a must-see. I am so invested in the MCU, so I would totally recommend you guys see this movie. If you don't like it, you don't like it. Hey, that's cool. But if you like it, hey, awesome. I just have faith in Marvel Studios to deliver awesome movies. So That's it, guys. That is my thoughts, review, whatever you want to call it. Feel free, comment below. So I will catch you guys later. Peace, peace.